So today what we're going to do is we're going to make a pair of red fox mitts. And I've got this skin to show you what I do. First, I take the tail off at the back, and then I put this nailing board, skin board up the center of the belly, and you go right up to the neck, and you can see the tip coming out up there now. And then what you want to do is you want to take your knife, your fur knife, and you're going to run your fur knife right up this belly all the way to the neck. And I usually do it from the neck going down. So you just take and put your blade up, and then you start with, put your blade up like this. This is a fur knife. Works good. Put your blade up, and you just follow that center line all the way down to the very bottom of the skin. And there's a lump here from, you know, this was a male, so you just want to go on one side or the other of that because that's going to be cut out anyway. So you can check my red fox, how to make a red fox blanket video on more how to do this. But after we get it opened up, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the paws on the inside only. We're going to slit this open, and I usually trim them off because we aren't going to use that extra that's left on there. And then what we do is we wet stretch the skin, and after we've got it wet stretched to the length that we want, they usually end up about between 9 and 10 across at the neck, and the length probably around 20 to 24 depending on the size of your skin. So this one has been wet stretched, and what I did was I marked the center back on it, and I've got two skins. So what I do next is I fold this one in half down the center back, and I fold the other one in half down the center back. And once I've got them folded down the center back, what I like to do is line them up. You can see right now the difference, but when I move this closer, you can see how nice this matches across to the skin underneath it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, and I already did this, but I'm going to show you. I take and I put a safety pin on one skin, and then I do mark over and I do the other skin, and then I do another safety pin down here. What that's going to let me do is, when I have that marked, see, that's where the one pin was, and that's the second pin, and that's the center back. That's going to let me match to the other skin over here, because that other set of safety pins already was, you know, on there. Whoops, got the wrong one. And so now so there's my mark and my other mark. So now when I take my mitt pattern, I use that clear plastic to make my mitts so I can see how they look on the leather. And then I can also see how I want to lay it out on the fur. So that mark will help me position my mitt as to what coloring and what markings I want to focus on. So I like the center stripe to go up the center of the mitt, and I'll probably pull this up a little bit closer to the neck. I don't want any gray from this neckline throat in the mitt. You could, but I don't really want that. So that's basically how my one mitt's gonna turn out. When I get that one marked, then I'll lay that on, I'll cut it, mark it, tape it, and then I'm gonna lay that same pattern on the other skin, and do the same to that. So they should match really nice. I'll show you what that looks like after I get it all drawn out and taped. I want to show you what I'm going to do. I've got my mitt marked out. I put my pattern on my skin and I marked it out. This is the top mitt, and that's the under mitt, you know, like the cuff area back there. So right around the part that you use the most, you know, that goes by your thumb, the tip of the finger of the mitt, this area here, the thumb, that's where it joins to the palm, the leather palm. I'm going to put tipping on. Tipping is a dye. It's an aniline powder that I get from a furrier supplier. You can get it from a couple places. You can get it at Samuel Bauer Unlimited, and it comes in a powdered form. This will last somebody maybe 20 years, seriously. And you take about 1/4 teaspoon, and you can kind of mix it to the consistency or the darkness or lightness that you want. And then what you do is you just take a little jar, fill it about 1/3 up with denatured alcohol, take just 1/4 teaspoon and put it in your jar, mix it up real well, and then after it's mixed, you can test the color on a sample. But what you're going to do is you just apply it to, you know, the seam line of your mitt all the way around, and it dries real quick because it's alcohol based. Usually I do this before I take it off the board, and I totally forgot. So I'm just going to do this portion of it. And I mean, I could do the whole thing. It isn't going to hurt anything, but I really don't need to. So this will probably dry in about 5 or 10 minutes because it's alcohol based. And then I'll put my tape on. Now, what happens is this gives a little pigment to the leather, and that dye will saturate through to the front side, and you won't see it, but what it does is it kind of like gives it a little makeup job on the turn line. So the fur looks denser. It doesn't change the color of the hair, but once you've got that on, if you get a wear edge on the outside edge of your mitt or your glove, it won't be as noticeable because that tipping will be on there. So I did the top area, and I'm going to do the palm area like that on the cuff palm side. And then after that's dry, I'm going to tape it, and I'll show you what it looks like after it's taped. But yeah, normally I do this before I take it off the board. So I worked on this at the cabin, and I took it off, and I didn't have the tipping there. So, and I wasn't sure where I was going to put my mitt. So anyway, that's what you use. And it dries quick. You can put it on with a little paintbrush, and good luck. I think it's a smart thing to do. I do this on most of the brims of my hats, and so anywhere where there's a connection where you don't want that white leather to show through, because the leather, you know, it's real light underneath there, and when that seam is when it breaks on that seam and you sew it together, you get that white leather. And when it has the tipping on, you won't get that white leather. It'll be nice and flesh toned or tan, because that kind of like goes through and saturates it and gives it a little color underneath. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the palms out of our leather. What I'm using is, it's very pliable. It feels really nice. It's a soft deer hide. And, you know, you can get these in different colors. I bought this, I don't remember where. But anyway, I like to place my pattern on the face of the leather so I can check for any blemishes that might be. And then I trace it, cut it out, flip it over. So I've got this one cut. And the next thing I'll do is I'll tape the edge with cold tape. So I'm going to cut this one out and we're doing that while those are drying. So we're not losing any time. And the next thing we're going to do is cut out the fleece for the liners. So I've got my fur pieces cut out. These are the two cuffs, the reverse side with the thumb, and then that's the one right side, and this is the one I've got left to do. So I want to show you what this cold tape is. Cold tape is an adhesive backed cloth tape, and it's sticky. So what it does is you peel it off. It comes off the roll real easy. If I was going to tape this straight line, you just put it down, unroll it, press it, and it stays. All right. So what it does is two things. It keeps your fur edge when you sew from stretching, and when you cut your fur out, it gives you a good edge to cut on. So it makes it easier to follow the line that you marked when you laid out your pattern. Now, it comes in a couple of different widths. I usually use, this is the 3/8 size, but on mitts, because there's so many curves, I like to use the 1/4 inch. And it comes in 3/4 inch wider also. I don't use that for much, but this is available at Samuel Bauer. Now, after I have my mitt cut out, what I like to do is I like to take my wire brush and I like to comb the sides that I've cut to remove any loose hair so it doesn't get caught in the seam when I'm sewing. And you see how this tipping, what it did? You don't, the fur isn't colored because that fur has that natural grade to it all over where you can see the gray underneath. That doesn't have any tipping on it right here at all. But this edge has that little bit of tipping. So if when you sew on that, what it's going to do is not have that bright white edge like this piece does. So this piece, I didn't have any tipping on it. So I've got my, I also tape my leather palms on the edge. So what I'm going to do next is I have to go and put my hash marks on from my pattern pieces. I haven't done that yet. So I know where the center is, so I can match the center of my thumb to both pieces, and then we'll start sewing them up. I've transferred the marks from my pattern to my fur, and I've done that on all my pieces. And now what I'm going to do is I set them together. So this is my palm cuff set, and my tops. So when I go to sew them together, all these little hashtags will match. And then I'm also going to put a side strap on that just goes over the top. It's just more for decoration. They can adjust it a little bit if they want to. But so then we're going to start sewing. And usually what I do is I'll join my palms to my cuffs, I guess is what you would want to call it, because this is the cuff side. And once I get that done, then this gets joined to the top. So I think the thing is that when I laid these out, I think I forgot to show you when I cut them, they laid out real nice. So my hash marks matched from this set to this set as far as those marks that I made, and overall I think they will look nice. Now I ran the top of this mitt at the neck of the skin. Okay, I just think it's a pretty look because it gives you this kind of like cross area here right on the top of your mitt. Now sometimes people like to take and do it just the opposite. They'd rather have that hidden underneath because the fur is a little less bulky right here. But I like that it's not as bulky right over the top of your hand. But if you didn't want to, you could run the wrist part or the cuff part at the top. All right. And then you'd have the bulkier back of the skin for the main part of your mitt. And it's just kind of like however you would want to do it. So this would have like laid out this way, and that would have been the top. There'd be a little less definition, but either way, you could do it either way. Next thing I want to show you are these little clips. You can probably get something similar, whatever, but these are a plastic clip. They're just shy of 1.5 inches long. And I take a piece of narrow grosgrain ribbon, loop it through there, and then I just stitch that grosgrain ribbon on each side a little bit so it stays together. Now what I do is I put it on the outside side of the mitt, and I secure it at the seam probably about 1.5 inches to 2 inches down from the top edge. And I leave a little bit of slack on the ribbon so it's not too hard to grab. And this is just going to help keep the set of mitts buckled together when they're not in use. And if somebody wants to add a lanyard of some type, they can just add a lanyard to the hook and wear them around their neck. Now I was thinking about, so anyway, this is smart, and this is the time that you want to put it on before you start joining your mitts up. Now I was thinking about doing a strap across the wrist. This is a webbing I get from this company, Country Brook Design. It's a nylon webbing. This is, I think, 3/8 of an inch wide. Oh, that's kind of upside down. Yeah, 3/8 inch wide. It's called Coyote color. Anyway, I use this normally on my Beaver mitts. It just gives a little decoration. I don't think we need it on these fox mitts. I think they're pretty just the way they are, and I don't think it doesn't add a lot of function. But I use this with a clip that lets you adjust it on the top of the mitt. It doesn't go all the way around. It's just from side seam to side seam. And I cut 2 strips about 6 inches long, and then I usually, melt the end with cigarette lighters before I put the buckle on, or after I put the buckle on, and it'll keep it from fraying. So, but we're not going to do that on these. I think these are too pretty, and fox is a lot more fragile than beaver, so I just don't want it to cause an unreasonable amount of wear on that wrist of this mitt. So I've got my palms joined to my cuffs on both of them. And you just want to, take it easy and nice going around the edges. And all my hash marks matched up. So now we're going to put the palm to the right top. And I usually start at the center and go down. And the center and go down on one side, the center go down on the other side. I just want to back up and show you something. When I sew these hooks on, I sew them at an angle so they aren't sticking straight out. Can you see that? How I just kind of like sewed it so it's going at a little bit of an angle, and then I just tack it on the edge. Then I come back and I tack it to the mitt itself, the tail. I probably could have left a little longer tail on these, but I made like about 3 dozen of them, so I guess I will make them a little longer next time. But anyway, that'll anchor it, it'll keep it secure, and it's not going to be just in that side seam. So I just wanted to show you, and I think once they're on your hand and on your wrist, they lay nice because they're at an angle. They aren't going to shoot straight out.